Kyle Klingman with Track Wrestling. We have Tom Brands, head wrestling coach of the University of Iowa, 1996 Olympic gold medalist. How are you, Tom?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, how could we not be good with the news that just came out? Hawkeye Wrestling Club Showdown open on Sunday, November 1 at Extreme Arena in Coralville. 9 matches. We're going to release those matches starting Monday. But where did this idea formulate?
Well, the COVID climate, I guess, it looked like it was going to be slow competition-wise. So in late July, we started talking about, doing something. The original date, we wanted to go on September 11th on the, 9/11 Memorial Anniversary, and couldn't do it because of NCAA rules and regulations, and we had to wait till November 1st. So here we are.
When you thought about how you were going to approach this, what was the first step to be able to make this happen?
Always compliance. We have a great relationship with our compliance. We have to maintain that. We do not run rogue. Everything we do, our administration knows. You talk about, the awesome, I guess, opportunities that postgraduates have these days with these regional training centers. And, we want to continue to provide that. And in order to keep it strong, you have to run very close with your compliance.
When you got to that point where it became a reality, and as we said, we're going to release the matches starting Monday, but what went into getting the card set up? How hard was that?
It's a lot of work and communication. For me, we wanted to get it right as far as the men and women. Women's wrestling is important to the University of Iowa. It's important to our program. It's important to my boss, Barbara Burke, who's the senior women's administrator here. So we knew that had to be a part of it. And so I spent a lot of time making sure that I was doing some listening. Were the number of women's matches enough? And, how does this sound to you? And I'm talking some of the women's leadership in the sport. And, there's a lot of communication. I talked about communication with our compliance. We're not just doing this for the benefit of competition readiness. We're doing this for our guys, and we're doing this for the sport of wrestling. It's not just about competing. Never has been for me. I mean, I remember Lincoln McElravy probably embodied this more than any Hawkeye that I was around, in that he was prepared when he competed. And so this competition isn't about just competing. It's about the preparation. It's about an event that's, in this time with COVID, how we move this sport forward. And we wanted it to be as good as it could be under our umbrella, I guess you could say.
Is this a pathway to a sustainable concept beyond this date?
I don't know. I think here's the thing. We have really good people working alongside us. Track Wrestling, Bobby Telford, assistant coach here, is heavy on the promotion on this thing. Our Hawkeye Wrestling Club, Randy Novak, and our entire board. I talked about, the women's contingency with Sarah Hildebrandt, had some conversations with her, let the cat out of the bag there a little bit, with Life University head coach Ashley Sword. So we got a lot of good people helping us. And in order for it to sustain, that would have to continue. And again, this is about a path to being ready for the competitive season, whether that's the competitive season for the Olympic Games, or if that's a competitive season for Division I wrestling. And we were able to blend that together very well. And it came together very well because of our, the other part of this that I talked about, great people, and I talked about the compliance aspect of it. So a lot of good people involved.
How about working with other RTCs with this project?
Easy, because they're about the same thing that we are. I mean, and I could say names, but we want to kind of build up to these match releases. But everybody that I worked with, and Ryan Morningstar was the lead on this, but everybody that we worked with and that I talked to, and that he ultimately ramrodded this thing, Ryan Morningstar did. It was nothing but good back and forth communication, where they want same thing we want. They want to wrestle. They want to look at a path of, they're going to be ready to go in whatever competitive realm that they need to be getting ready to go in.
Our sport in a lot of ways is really driven by the Olympic vision. Does this change the landscape of wrestling in any way?
I don't think so. You're asking questions that are, you're asking me to look into a crystal ball, or maybe even asking me to act smarter than I really am. It's not that we're smart people for doing this. Remember, it's Hawkeye Wrestling, and there's value in Hawkeye Wrestling. We got snubbed in an event that was earlier this year, and not one Hawkeye was on that card. And that made me, what, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to do this on our own. Everybody wants to do an event. They want Spencer Lee, and that's all they talk about. The value with the Hawkeye Wrestling and the Hawkeye Wrestling Club is you get Lugo Brooks, you get Corey Clark, and then you get Spencer Lee, Marinelli, Kemmer, DeSanto, Cassiope, Mirren, Young, Warner, and everybody else, Assad, Nelson Brands, and everybody else that goes along with our roster. You get Tom and Terry Brands, Ryan Morningstar, and Bobby Telford. And I think people lose sight of that. So, where I'm probably a little bit protective is when, we want to do an event, we want Spencer Lee. And that's not what this is about to us. This isn't about that to us. This is about, the Hawkeyes. This is about, the emphasis on women's wrestling is important. It's important to us. It's important to the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. And this is how you do it. So in my mind, I think we got it about like it should be. And we came to that conclusion with a lot of dialogue, making sure that it wasn't just coming from, what our opinion would be. There was a lot of people involved, and you were in on some of those early conversations with Track, of course. And so I think we can learn after this. I'm sure there's going to be, always is, but I think there's going to be a lot of excitement with this announcement here. And I know that I'm excited.
Hawkeye Wrestling Club formed in 1973. What did it mean to your development, Tom?
Hawkeye Wrestling Club formed in 1973. I don't know quite what that looked like, except for the history of it. Chuck Yegla is probably the earliest memory that I have as far as a Hawkeye Wrestling Club athlete. Lenny Zaleski wrestled in the '84 trials right here in Carver Hawkeye Arena, and lost to Andy Ryan. That was impactful for me because both Bannock, Randy Lewis, and Barry Davis all made that team, and I was a Zaleski fan growing up. So the impact for me was when I came on my recruiting trip in 1987. It wasn't about looking for who the national champions were in this program. And it was about Barry Davis and Randy Lewis. And I remember the first time I met Randy Lewis. So, so very impactful, very impactful. It's still impactful today. I think Gable's philosophy, if you made it real simple, it was about finding guys that were very committed and very competitive in the sport. And that means that they were wired to compete at the international and the collegiate level at a very high level. And that means winning national, Olympic, and world championships. And our philosophy has continued with that. And you look at Spencer Lee, he had won 2 world championships before he committed to us. After he committed to us, he won another world championship. So he had 3 world championships under his belt before he even enrolled in school here. Alex Marinelli wrestled very little freestyle in high school growing up, and now he's talking about continuing his career. So very important.
What kind of opportunities does the Hawkeye Wrestling Club provide that can give us some insight into how important it is for others?
Well, I mean, if you want to get kind of pat yourself on the back, we have a fund that was generously donated to us by the late Herb Tyler, where it has to be used at the discretion of the board president and the head wrestling coach for graduate degree for a Hawkeye Wrestling Club member. So, Sam Brooks, he's got a graduate degree because of that. And that will continue. The other opportunities obviously are competitive. The opportunities are for, the US of A. And I'm a patriotic person, and the American flag and representing our country is important to me. And we're a part of a big network of regional training centers that directly impacts, what USA Wrestling's doing. And, they never diminish the importance of the RTCs. I remember, the infancy of that concept with Doc Bennett, Zeke Jones, Bobby Douglas. And actually, those 3 guys wrote some of the bylaws that you see in the NCAA manual. They wrote it. And that's survived for a long time. And it's morphed into this great thing. And, you got to be careful because, you can talk about the smaller programs, they take away funds from their university program. And I'm telling you, if you communicate to your bosses, your administration the right way, if you roll up your sleeves and you work hard for 12 months a year, you can do it. And, I've been criticized. My brother's been criticized for, well, you're at Iowa. Well, don't forget that I was at Virginia Tech for 2 years. Don't forget that Terry Brands was at Chattanooga for 3 years. And so because of communication with, our athletic directors at those 2 institutions and being around the right people and hiring the right staff, we were able to do it. And my first Hawkeye Wrestling Club consisted of Nick Ficchetti and Lee Fullhart. And Doug Schwab was an assistant coach for us that was competing at the time as well. And because of that, that's how we were able to recruit the number 1 class there in 2005. So after our first year there. So I think you got to be careful generalizing that this is only for the bigger programs. But I do think it's different for smaller programs. I think the communication has to be there where you get people to come on board because the communication is deep enough where they really understand what this is about. It's not just about, we want to keep up with the Joneses. You actually have to put good people in the regional training center. You can't just have a regional training center. There has to be good people. So probably a hot topic right now.
Do you feel like people associate Hawkeye Wrestling Club with the University of Iowa? Has it gotten that mixed in that they associate both with Iowa wrestling?
Well, there's lines of, separation there that you have to adhere to, compliance wise. And we're very careful. We run our regional training center workouts under the protocol, that's a COVID term, but under the rules and it's more regulations and bullet points that USA Wrestling, has set forth. And, we're happy to do that. This isn't about just getting us a bulletproof team to win the NCAA Division I championships. This is about our commitment to our recruits when we recruit them, that we are about your international career during your collegiate career, and then certainly postgraduate wise as well. And so we recruit on that platform, and we're able to follow through because of it. So I think it's natural that you would have a lot of lines going from one to the other, or tethers, or there isn't a lot of separation on the outside looking in. But the separation is clear with finances and how we run our workouts and so on and so forth. So for me, it's different, but to probably the normal fan, I think the one thing that they know that when they get to figure this stuff out is that it's absolutely essential to what we're doing.
Iowa wrestling is known for its fans, so let's take this event where there's not going to be any fans. What's this going to look like at the Extreme Arena?
No fans, and that was a decision that the guy that you're talking to right now was unwilling to just wasn't going to compromise. I think that rooftop event was awesome. I think you had some, pretty good wrestling minds to get that thing that early, especially in a state like Illinois. And so kudos to them. And the only criticism I saw was, as soon as the doors opened, that protocol went away. The distancing, the chairs started moving, and that wasn't their fault. But it was criticism, and we're not gonna be in the protocol policing business. USA Wrestling is going to be in this venue, 3 weeks before our event. They're going to have fans. You could say, well, why don't you see how that goes? And we're just not going to do it. We're going to have 9 matches. They're going to be some awesome matches. There are going to be some awesome tests for our guys, and there are going to be some awesome tests for the outside guys that are traveling in here and the outside girls that are traveling in here. And our fans get to watch it. They can come in the parking lot and use their technology and watch it on the pay-per-view. So I think the most important thing to take from that is that we're just not going to be in the protocol enforcing business.
Are you going to be at the arena?
I will be at the arena. Coaches are allowed. And we didn't even limit it to one coach. So, talking to some of these other coaches and regional training center coaches, if, some of them have more than one athlete, you want to bring a couple coaches, bring a couple coaches. We're not being that strict. We're just saying there's not going to be fans because we don't want to spend energy, making sure that, all of a sudden there's a positive test and then the contact tracing comes in, and that might affect our program. It's just, it's messier that way. And we want to keep it clean. And that's the easiest way to keep it clean, instead of, me trying to, explain how someone that comes into that arena, how they should act. That's ludicrous. I mean, they're paying their ticket. They can, they can certainly get comfortable in those seats however they want to. And, that's hard to police sometimes. And so we're just not going to mess with it.
What have you learned through this process of putting on this event?
I said it earlier, there's a lot of good people that you need. In our roof, it's a Hawkeye Wrestling Club event. So we have to be, have that separation there, be careful with some of the things we do. But, we got guys that are competing in it. Our eligible athletes are competing in it. So, we need our SID at a high level. Bobby Telford's been at a high level with the promotion and working hand in hand with Track. We needed a partner, so Track came through for that. We needed our administration to guide us with the COVID protocol, and we needed outside programs to get competing athletes. And, we needed to be talking to the women on an event like this to make sure that, they feel like their voice is going to be strong in this thing. So what did I learn? I learned that you need a lot of really good people to be alongside you, because it's a lot of work.
As we mentioned, the event is Sunday, November 1. It'll be on Track Wrestling. Tom, thanks for breaking this down. Can't wait to see what this is going to look like.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.